Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, it's been a while since you come to Golden Hill, but I'm excited for you to come back.
Well, I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited to help you do this because I want to show people what biogeometry can offer them in the energetic world that we live in.
Yeah, that is what we're going to be talking about today, the world of biogeometry and sacred geometry. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So biogeometry was developed by Ibrahim Karim in Egypt. He was studying the pyramids and started noticing some similarities in their tools, and then he started playing with the different tools and he stumbled on something that they were actually reading the energetics around their environment. They were building the pyramids due to these energetics that they were aware of. So our future is going to come from our past, because the past, they were way more in tune to the energetics of the world than we are now. Everything in this universe has a specific place to where they're energetically emitting a lot of energy. And I could demonstrate some of that for you here in a minute.
Okay, yeah, I've been really interested in learning more about this because in our trips to Egypt, it was apparent to me that this is an ancient healing method that has been lost.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know about it, and when I found out about it, I was interested in how can we apply that to our life now, and what uses or potential uses could it be for us in the future, especially in regards to health and well-being.
In biogeometry, just think of it as this way. We have a big range of audio that we can hear, but our visual is very narrow. And if we swapped, we would actually be able to see the energy. We are literally swimming in a sea of energy that we don't even see. And if you, to illustrate this, your cell phone, it calls up somebody in another town. Well, do you see that call going through the air? No. Do you see the radio going through the air? No. So there's energetics in the world. There's natural energetics, and then there's man-made energetics. And we're swimming in all of that. And biogeometry allows you the ability to harmonize your environment, yourself, to be able to better adapt to the environment that you're in.
I love that. And each of us has our own energy field.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
how does one measure that?
So we can take a simple pendulum, and this is the neutral pendulum, and I can calibrate it to your bio energy. So we're going to take your hand. Now I will have to keep it, I have to start it rocking back and forth, because if I don't, it will drain my energy. So I'm searching for your energy. Okay, now I'm attuned to your energy. Now to illustrate how far your energy comes out of you, aka your aura, and that's about where your field is. So you're emitting this much energy just from you. That's your energy, right? So I'm going to test this over here, and I'm going to test this spot right here, and I'm still tuned to your frequency. And see, it's still in search mode. Back and forth that I start, it goes in search mode. Now I'd like for you to touch that spot. Okay. Now I'm going to demonstrate that I'm still tuned to your energy. Okay. Now let's go back to this spot. Now you saw me, there wasn't nothing there.
Wow.
And there it is. So everything you come in contact with throughout the day, touching this, touching that, you're leaving energetic fingerprints. Now, that shows you right there in itself that you're walking around, not only is your aura big, but you're leaving traces of you all over the place you go.
Right. So all of our energies are being shared with each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. Our energy right now is sharing, because we're close proximity, so my aura and your aura are mixing and they're harmonizing. Now if you was in a bad mood, or say not you personally, but maybe somebody who was in a bad mood or a foul mood or just not a nice person, and you got within this proximity, under 6 feet, but about 3 foot, you would pick up on that energy. And then when you leave, if you feel depressed, down, like, and a lot of times this happens at family reunions or something like that, because there's always the uncle that just makes everybody really tired, right? So if you're really tired, then you've lost your energy. They've been sucking your energy off of you. It's called energy vampires. But if you walk away from a seminar, event, a party, or whatever, and you feel, wow, that was good, then you're uplifted. So you actually benefited your energy instead of pulling it down. So we have to be very aware of our energetics and how our energetics are being affected by the people, places, and environments that you're in. I know everybody has always felt they've walked in a room and like, ugh, this is not for me,
Right.
You felt, and then you've walked in a room and it's like, it feels inviting and warmth and everything, and you go on in, And that's the same thing, but it applies throughout your day with people, places, events, and everything.
Right.
We're swimming in it.
So I can see that's very important for us to understand, because our thoughts and emotions and the energy we're emitting affects others.
Shame and guilt are some of the lowest frequencies that a human can experience. And if you're living your life with shame or guilt, you're actually on a frequency that is equivalent to a single cell amoeba. That's a very low vibration.
Yes.
And then, as you become more spiritually awake and as you grow and you start becoming aware of your energetics, your frequency rises.
Right. I love the work of Dr. David Hawkins.
Yes.
And he has that frequency and the scale of how our emotions affect and what vibration and what frequency it is. And you're right. The lowest is the shame and guilt, and the highest is what? Joy,
love,
and love. Right. It's
love is the
as
center.
you go up.
Be aware of your own energy. Always check in and say, what is my energy like today? Be curious. Ask questions of yourself and see how well you can answer those questions. Well, I'm kind of feeling a little low, or I'm feeling a little depressed, or I'm feeling a little, hey, let's get it going, Ask questions. Where's this energy coming from, and how did it happen? And then find the source and replicate it if it's going up, and find the source and fix it if it's pulling you down.
Right. So the work of Heart Math Institute demonstrates that. And
Absolutely.
I love where the spirituality and science comes together, because like what you're saying, what they found is if you emit or you bring in the mind positive emotions of care, love, gratitude, then you bring up that energetics and you get harmony and balance within your system. And they were able to measure that when you bring up those positive emotions, you have something called heart rate variability that gets stabilized, and the patterns of your heart and your brain working together become synchronized, and you get this beautiful sine wave versus this erratic pattern.
Yeah, it's chaos.
Yes.
That's the best way to describe it, just chaos, total chaos.
So sacred or biogeometry is really looking for ways to balance and put this chaos back in order.
I would say it's harmonizing, because you can't really change energy, but you can harmonize energy where it's not as effective on you. There's the Hartman, Binkner, and the Curry lines, and they run through everywhere. And if you measure it with biogeometry and marked it out with tape, it looked like we're walking around on a waffle iron. And a lot of those attract negative energy and emit negative energy. And a lot of people have illness from sleeping on those lines because they don't realize they're running under their floor. And once we go in there and we can correct it with color, shape, or angles and harmonize that energy, then a lot of times people that might have leg problems, when they wake up, that's gone, because they were just picking up on the negative energy. In fact, the interesting thing, Dr. Kareem he travels around giving lectures all over the place, and he was in a hotel room and he kept feeling drawn to this one chair. But when he sat in the chair, he felt weird. And he finally broke out his tools and he tested that chair. And that chair was emitting a lot of negative energy, because for some unknown reason, sometimes we're attracted to negative energy and we don't even realize it.
Right.
So he got out and he took that chair and he removed it and moved it around in the room and found where it wanted to be in that room. And then that chair, when he said it, he didn't feel that way. Another example, he was leading a tour on the pyramids, and there was a couple of people getting a little overheated. So he tested some of the columns, and he found one that was putting out good energy. And he had those people that were feeling overheated sit by those pillars, and within 15, 20 minutes they felt a lot better, because they just needed a little recharge because of the heat, and there's all kinds of things that we're dealing with.
There's also a concept of within each of us there's polarity.
Absolutely.
So there's negative and positive, and the key is that a lot of times, like you said, it needs to be harmonized and maybe not over one side versus the other.
Right, and I can demonstrate the
Sure.
different polarities with your hand. If you were going to lay it on here, that'd be easier for you. So here we go, back and forth, neutral. It's searching. Okay, that is clockwise. Counterclockwise. Okay, get searching again. Clockwise. Clockwise. Okay, so what this is demonstrating is this finger, and this finger, and this finger, and this finger are all projecting energy. This finger is pulling it in because it's negative, so it's going counterclockwise, so it's pulling it in, whereas in these are pushing it out. And the irony of it is...
Exactly, it's your pointer finger.
So you're trying to pull somebody's attention to you, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and it can be varied because I've tested people where this finger's that finger. So it's not all set in stone. There's nothing really set in stone in the energetic work until you start testing.
What about when they say the middle finger?
Right.
Is there some evidence of that?
Well, it means anything. You know, I think that was a man-made construct that was put on us in the history, and we've run with it and built upon it and created such a story behind it. But really, it's just a finger.
Right.
Really? Right. So humans have assigned a designation to that finger. I'm quite confident God didn't do that. He said, okay, here, this finger's bad. Don't do that, right? So.
Yeah, it is what man... maybe has some distortions of certain things.
It's part of the illusions.
Right.
The illusions of language and everything that we deal with.
So in terms of energetics, I would assume that depending on our state of mind and our emotions and our thoughts, it will influence our energetics throughout the day.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, when I'm doing testing, I have to maintain a very neutral mindset, and that comes through training, consistent training, because if you don't have a neutral mindset, you could eschew the results of your test. So you have to be neutral. It's just like any other modality where you need to be and remain neutral so you don't influence the results of your test, because it's all science, right? And you can't get so partial in what you want the outcome to be to where you mess up that.
Right. So I would assume that it depends on what the goal is. For example, if you're doing an assessment and you want to gauge where that person is, that it's important whoever's doing the testing or administering it would have to be in the neutral position, not to affect the person that you're testing.
Correct.
However, if you do want a positive influence, for example, if you are a healer and you have the intention of helping this person heal, then I would think that it would be advantageous for that person to emit that positive energy and to help the person heal.
Sharing your energy is important. That's correct. But when we do testing, we have to be neutral because that's not a time for sharing.
Right.
The neutral, you just got to be just a blank slate and let the chips fall where they fall, because you don't want to have any influence on what the results are. So you can get an accurate reading. You know, that's part of science. The word science is about questioning the results and continually questioning the results. It's not saying, oh, this is this and that's it. There is no definitive in science. It cannot be defined in this, okay, well that's that, and we're not ever going to look into it.
Right.
So
I sort of see it science in the sense of the different levels of energy. For example, when I look at all these healing traditions and the different, especially the ancient healing arts, they are addressing a lot of that subtle energy, that energy that is higher frequency vibration, the spiritual energetic. Whereas when you're looking at physics and chemistry, you're looking at the dense energy, the things that you can actually measure. The instruments that we have today are able to measure some of these things, but the subtle energetics, a lot of times we can't measure that because we don't have the instruments to be able to scale it to a specific degree, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Right.
It does exist, and just because we don't have the tools at the moment, which biogeometry does give you tools to test a lot of the stuff that we can't test any other way. However, there's such a heavy mindset now that if I can't see it, if I can't repeat it, then it doesn't exist. And so many people push off that.
Right.
And that's where they're missing the big golden nugget in the whole thing. If you're a physician and you're going to a patient, and you go in there and you treat that patient like a car, well, I'm gonna fix this and this and this, and go, because you look at that patient as a car and not a spiritual being that could have all kinds of energetic traumas in it, then you're missing a big chunk of the healing process.
Right.
The energy of the human is so much more than what the material is. We have so much energy running through us, and there's a lot of things in science that can test that. But just think about all the amazing things that are occurring in your body right now that we don't even know how it works, but it works.
Right.
And everybody's so scared to go there because they can't quantify it with some kind of machine gizmo, or the spirit is huge.
What are certain things that you could do using biogeometry?
So biogeometry, one of the biggest things is we're bombarded daily with EMF. The 5G, the 4G, and everything else. I would suggest to everybody, turn your Wi-Fi off at night. Get your phone away from your bed and at least give yourself an opportunity to have a decent night's sleep without being energetically manipulated in your sleep. This is the BG3 pendulum. It measures good energy. And this is what we're ultimately after, right? Let me get here and get tuned into it. See, it's putting out a lot of energy. Okay. Now, we can find where this crystal wants to be energetically in this specific area of the energetic sea that we're swimming in. So I'm going to get it searching. And I'm just going to do a simple rotation. And what I'm looking for is where the pendulum swings more. See, now it's picking up here.
So the bigger circle,
the stronger the energy, right. Exactly.
And it's going clockwise.
Yes, yes. So if I was going to come in here and I said, okay, I want to lay this crystal on this table, you can take biogeometry and you can position it in the correct space that it wants to be. So it's just finding where things need to be placed. Feng Shui. Where Feng Shui and biogeometry differ is Feng Shui doesn't use the tools to test. They just use the elements, and that's a beautiful thing, and it works. I've been witness to that.
So it's truly finding the optimal harmonization.
Correct.
Of the energy.
You could take this crystal, not only in the rotation, but I could take this crystal and test it, and I could walk around the room and found where this crystal really lit up. I could put it down and then do a rotation there, and that's where that crystal wants to reside. It could be over here, it could be over there. This is the correlation in between an innate object and the energies that we're in. House plants, I mean dogs, everything's emitting energy.
Is the general clockwise direction always a positive?
Yes, Dr. Cream discovered that in Egypt it goes spirit to matter is clockwise, and matter to spirit is counterclockwise.
I started to get very interested in this after our trip to Egypt, actually, and learned that the pyramids were placed on specific spots, taking in consideration those ley lines, those energetic lines.
Everything.
It's interesting when you look at the energetic ley lines in the earth, they parallel, it's a fractal of our energetic ley lines within our bodies.
Right.
And in our bodies it's called the meridians. So these meridians are running throughout our body and connecting different systems, and there's certain points that are powerful energetic centers, and when they're out of balance, then we have illness.
So this medallion, let me see.
I actually have the same
yes.
thing.
Yes. So this medallion, and I know you can't really see it, but on it, it has biosignatures. Each one of these biosignatures is correlated to an organ in the human body. And what it does is the energy that we come in contact with is harmonized with these biosignatures, and then it's projected down. So it's taking bad energy, harmonizing it so it doesn't hurt you. And you can feel the difference when you wear these.
Yes.
And like these crystals, this little crystal. And I'll show you, I can test. I'll show you what these things, this is a L90. This is just a simple crystal, and this is the Bio Signature Medallion. So this crystal here it's a pretty strong one. And then this is a L90. And just the shape of it. And the L90 is a tool that we use a lot for balancing mirrors, windows, to harmonize the glass. And then this is just the medallion itself.
So all of those are emitting
Good energy.
powerful, good energy.
Absolutely.
Because the example we had before was when you did that on top of this table before I touched it, it did not emit that energy. However, with me touching it, I was able to affect the energy.
Well, with the neutral pendulum, when I was calibrated to your frequency, I could pick up wherever you've been.
Right.
In all actuality, just think of it as a detective, and this is the magnifying glass in the old days, and he was following your footsteps. You could energetically follow somebody.
So something like this, if you wear it near you, it will balance out any negative energy.
Just keep it from affecting you. How often do we go through life living in constant emotional responses as opposed to just like, hey, why did just a few words trigger me to the point where I have this raging feeling inside me? To get curious, to ask the deeper questions. Why is somebody said something to me so shallow, so insignificant, trigger me to behave or act or feel like that? And it's always about getting curious. Check in with your body, check in with your energetics, check in with all the energy, check in with how your energy is affected in your environment, your placement, who you're around.
Yeah, I think that's a challenging thing for us today because we're bombarded with so much stimulation. So for us to even take that time for stillness and to pay attention to that inner world is a challenge for most people.
I would say one of the fastest ways to get there, and this is kind of is do a hard-seated meditation. And what I mean by a hard-seated meditation, find a chair, sit in. Okay, shake yourself, get ready, and then what I call lock in. You cannot move anything. Now, when I do these hard-seated meditations, I say, okay, you can open your eyes and you can blink and you can look around. But as far as the rest of your physical body, you're frozen like stone. And just sit there and become aware. And I guarantee you within 2 or 3 minutes, if you make it that far, you're going to feel some twitching, some itching, and you're going to be so tempted to break out of that hard-seated meditation. But when you do go through it, and you let all the itchies itch, and all the scratchies scratch, and you don't pay them no attention, they dissipate. And then when you get to the other side of that, there's just stillness. And then you can just let yourself feel. Don't get out of your head. But that's the beauty of the hard-seated meditations, because you're not in your head. When you sit down and you lock in, you might be thinking about something, but guess what? That little itch is going to distract your mind from what you was thinking about. And then you're going to have to sit through that itch, and that itch is going to scream, itch me, itch me, itch me. And you're going to want to itch it, but you don't. And in the process, you're so focused on that, you're getting all the chatter out of your head.
I think the challenge for today's society is that addiction to stimulation.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, with social media and our phones. And when people go into stillness, or they try to, they go into withdrawal.
Our attention spans have gotten so short. I think it's like 3.5 seconds, whatever, you know. And if you notice the algorithm, if you stop at something and then you go on, the algorithm picked that up, and guess what? You're going to start seeing more of that kind of content. And that's just where they've come with the technology. A
big part of what we do here at Golden Hill, in the programs that we're doing, and even this channel, is to provide how these worlds intersect in terms of the subtle energy, our spiritual realms, and how does that intersect with our physical, Because therefore, when we understand it and have a pattern within our brain, then we're able to become aware and pick those things up much easier.
Look at all the people that have died and came back. And they've all seemed to have a story, and they all kind of correlate around the same thing, that there's something there. But the spiritual and the energetics, they play so much into our well-being and our mentality and our health that when we ignore that, the physical it hurts. I guess y'all painted these?
Yes.
The Golden Hills?
From Dr. Kareem's
Yes.
work.
There's a whole book full of different biosignatures that relate to different things. But just to show you that the quality of this shape, I'm going to test it. So here we go. And it's emitting good energy off this wall in this beautiful space that y'all built.
So this particular signature is for heart-brain coherence.
Oh, okay. There's so many, I'd have to have the book.
Yes, so I feel really called about this heart-brain coherence because it's the foundation of a lot of the spiritual texts, but also a lot of how we can help people heal.
Absolutely.
Is to establish the synchronicity between our hearts and our brains. Or to me, it's also a symbol of our spiritual world and our physical world all working together.
It's
the
hard.
brain representing the physical and our mental world, and the heart is the window to the soul and the spirit.
This will emit this good energy, and anybody that comes in front of this is going to pick it up, even if they don't know it. And it's going to help harmonize their brain and their heart. And that's what we want. We want them to have their heart open.
Beautiful. What about this one? It's for muscular alignment.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yep. It's emitting BG3.
And with that, I thank you, Scott, for coming here and sharing your knowledge on sacred geometry.
Thank you very much, and I'm blessed to be invited here, and I will always come here anytime you need me. Golden Hills is a fabulous place, and I strongly suggest you check it out.
Thank you.